Welcome back to Courtroom Conversations on the Classic Courtroom YouTube channel. It's great to have you back with us.
Glad to be here.
I am Dylan Brooks Hamilton,
I'm Susan Kelly Ashford.
and we are ready for another deep dive into a fascinating legal case.
I sent you a really interesting one this week.
This one has it all.
It really does.
So before we get started, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have lots more of these deep dives into fascinating cases coming up. Today we're talking about a case involving a familiar name to our listeners.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein is in the news again. This time he's filed a notice of claim against New York City. He is asking for $5 million in damages. For what?
So he's alleging that he received substandard medical care at Rikers Island
Okay.
and that the unsanitary conditions there worsened some of his pre-existing health conditions,
Wow.
like leukemia and diabetes.
We're talking about Rikers Island here.
Yes.
One of the most notorious jails in the entire country.
It really is infamous, and it's scheduled actually to close in 2027, although there have been delays in the past.
I mean, his attorney is painting a pretty bleak picture.
Yeah.
Blood-spattered clothes, weeks without clean garments, and lack of proper underwear for a man with his medical conditions.
That's what they're alleging, yes.
And those are pretty serious allegations.
Yeah.
So before we jump into all the details, I just want to take a step back.
I'm sure.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with the term, can you just break down what a notice of claim actually is?
Absolutely. So a notice of claim is essentially a legal document that an individual or an entity
Okay.
files with a government agency to inform them of their intent to file a lawsuit.
Okay.
So in this case, Harvey Weinstein's legal team filed this notice of claim with the city of New York to let them know that they intend to sue for these alleged damages.
So it's basically a heads up.
It's a heads up. It's a way to start the legal process,
Yeah.
and it gives the city an opportunity to investigate the claim and potentially settle the matter before it goes to court.
Interesting. So, I mean, in this case, it's $5 million. He's claiming he suffered due to substandard medical care and these unsanitary conditions. But how common is this kind of legal action against institutions like Rikers?
Well, it's not uncommon for inmates to file lawsuits against correctional facilities, alleging inadequate medical care or poor living conditions.
So it's not unusual to see this kind of thing.
No, not at all, particularly in a place like Rikers Island, which has a long and troubled history.
You know, when I think about this case, I can't help but think about the incredible contrast between Weinstein's former life as this powerful Hollywood producer and now his current situation facing these serious health issues in this infamous jail.
It's quite a fall from grace, isn't it?
It really is, and we have to remember that Weinstein was convicted of rape in 2020.
That's right.
That conviction was overturned. He's now awaiting a retrial scheduled for 2025. And throughout all of this, he has maintained his innocence.
He has, yes.
So we have this backdrop of his past legal troubles, his fall from grace, and now he's facing these health challenges in this notoriously difficult environment.
And he also, interestingly, set up a $17 million fund for sexual misconduct claims following those convictions.
Now, it's interesting to think about, the potential impact of this notice of claim
Yeah.
on his upcoming retrial. Could it somehow affect the outcome of that case?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a factor that legal experts will be watching closely. I mean, if his health deteriorates significantly due to these alleged conditions at Rikers, it could potentially impact his ability to stand trial,
I see.
or even raise questions about the fairness of his treatment.
This case, while centered on Weinstein, it really kind of brings up a lot of broader issues
He does.
about prison conditions in the U.S.
Yes.
and access to health care for inmates, especially those with serious medical needs.
Absolutely. And I think this case will continue to fuel those debates about prison reform and the conditions that inmates face in facilities like Rikers.
So we've talked about the specifics of Weinstein's case, but I want to kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about the bigger picture here. What can our listeners learn from this situation?
Well, I think it highlights the complexities of the legal system and the fact that even high-profile individuals with controversial pasts still have legal rights and deserve to be treated humanely.
It's a reminder that justice should be applied equally,
Absolutely.
regardless of someone's fame or their past actions.
And I think it also brings up the really important issue of access to health care within the prison system, especially for those with chronic illnesses.
Yeah, it's a reminder that these are complex societal issues and that there are no easy answers. We've got this very public figure with a very controversial past now caught up in this legal battle that raises some really fundamental questions about how our justice system operates.
And it makes you think, if someone like Harvey Weinstein with all his resources
All right.
and his legal team is facing these challenges, what about the countless other inmates who don't have those advantages?
That's a really important point to consider.
It really is.
So for our listeners out there watching, I think this case presents a lot of food for thought. What are your takeaways from all of this? What are you thinking?
It's a case with so many layers, and I think for me the biggest takeaway is that it really forces us to confront our own biases and to think critically about how we view justice and accountability.
It's a reminder that there's always more to the story than what we might see on the surface.
Exactly, and that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their past actions.
Very powerful words to leave us with. Thank you for bringing this case to our attention today.
My pleasure.
For those of you watching, make sure you let us know your thoughts on this case down in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Classic Courtroom for more fascinating legal deep dives. We'll see you next time.